How do you feel about reverse mortgages?
They're expensive. They can help people as far as being able to help them pay expenses later on in life, as far as taxes and insurance and using the equity in their house to do so.
Mm-hmm.
But once you pass away, the reverse mortgage companies, once they find out, and they seem to find out pretty quickly, they will start a foreclosure immediately and look for the house to be sold so they can get their money back. Sometimes there are situations with the house, tenants in the house, the legality of improvements, where a reverse mortgage company would start a foreclosure. I had one recently. Person's dad passed away, and during his lifetime, he needed a home health care aide.
Mm.
After he died, she refused to leave. She moved her whole family in the house. She was driving around his car. She was acting as if the house was hers. COVID
You're talking
hit.
about home care.
Home care aide.
Wow.
Took in Queens County 3 years to evict her, partially because of COVID, partially because they were thinking they needed to get her rental assistance, and they gave her free lawyers. She played every game in the book. During that 3-year period, the reverse mortgage on the house accumulated to almost $200,000 in extra interest, water bills, taxes that were paid. So she wound up stealing, that's the way I look at it, almost $200,000 from the estate,
Wow.
from the daughter, just because she refused to leave and played every trick in the game she could and took advantage of the courts and lies and they kept her in the house. And while the reverse mortgage company kept the foreclosure going. So we had one side of the court saying, we need this house empty, we need the house sold. And then we had landlord-tenant court and the judge saying, we need to protect this lady. And regardless of all the lies she was saying, they had to see if what she was saying was true or not and give her the benefit of the doubt. So, reverse mortgages in that situation, that actually wound up really hurting the family.
There's a lot of cases that we do come across also. And my recent story, actually, I'm going to share that one. So there was a father and daughter situation. And I was in touch with daughter for quite some time while the father was still up and active. One day she decided to move the father to an assisted living because she realized that he can't handle himself any longer. So there was a handyman who had access to the house with the keys, who was maintaining the house by coming and going just to kind of like check up on the house if anything ever goes wrong. So the minute she moved the father out of the house into assisted living, handyman knew that there was nobody at the house. What do you think he did?
He moved in.
He moved in. He moved in his girlfriend. He moved in his kids. And it was a big, long battle, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to situations, overseeing properties and really carefully paying attention to the fact that you could be out of state, you could be local, but pay attention to the property. Don't just believe that if somebody has the keys to the property, you trust them enough to just like maintain and pay attention to the property. They're the ones that's going to move in without your consent and approval, and they will be becoming your squatters.
That's what you also have to think about, who are you appointing in charge of your estate. Because there are some kids who do not want to be bothered. They live in another state. They hire someone, or they don't even hire somebody. They just basically almost give away the house, what you worked hard for. People move in. You have to have somebody in charge who is going to do what's in the best interest of your beneficiaries, care for your property, and really try to maximize what you've worked so hard for and give that to your beneficiaries. When you have a situation where you have someone in charge who is not paying attention anymore, so many of these squatter situations. There's people who drive around, and if they don't see a house, looks like a house is being occupied, they will go and move in, find out a public record who owns the house, make up a fake lease agreement, and move in the house. And then when the police come, their hands are tied. If they show this fake lease and they say, oh, yes, I gave cash to the landlord, this is who owns it. I've had a lot of those situations come up.
Can you share a story?
As far as squatters go?
Yeah.
Well, there's a few of them. This isn't really an estate matter, but I had a lady who was selling a house, and it was on a short sale. And in anticipation of getting ready to close, she moved out. And we had been negotiating this for some time. But right after she moves out and right before we're ready to close, somebody noticed that nobody was living in the house anymore and the whole family moved in. And same thing, the police showed up. They showed a fake lease agreement. They said they gave her cash when they didn't give her cash. Eventually, there was a party, I think, on New Year's Eve, and one of the neighbors called, and the police came to the house because there was a lot of drug use, and they wound up sort of catching these people. But during this time, they found a 6-foot dead snake in the basement. There were kids in the house. But eventually, we wound up getting the people out because of that party, and somehow the truth came out, that these really weren't tenants, but we were going through a landlord-tenant process at that time. If you ever move out of your house in advance, or you have somebody who's out of state, you really need to have neighbors looking at the house for you, your real estate broker looking at the house,
Absolutely.
checking on the house. And there's new laws where if somebody moves into your house illegally, if you notice it within a short enough period of time, you can get them out without having to go to court. Because the courts always seem to give the tenants a better benefit of the doubt. For public policy, they don't want to see people on the street. So there's a lot of squatters who are they're professional. They tell their lies. They know what to say in order for the court to protect them.
What are the laws? 30 days for them to be able to live in the house. That means 30 days.
Yeah, that's like the new. Yeah, you have to find out within a short enough period of time. Bottom line is you got to keep an eye on your house. You have to have somebody checking on your house every week. You maybe put on automatic lights, have curtains. Don't look like your house is abandoned. Let your neighbor park in your driveway.
There's so many tips we could give, right?
Yes, there are so many tips you can give to avoid it. But a lot of people don't realize there's such a problem.
No. People think it's a joke.
Yeah, they think it's a joke. It can't happen to you. And it's just not certain neighborhoods. It can happen anywhere.
David, do you know how many times people tell me, oh, I don't need a broker. I'm going to have my attorney handle it for me. And I'm like, your attorney has no time to deal with it. Leave it in our hands because that's what we do. It's
true. We're reviewing contracts and title reports and legal documents. We're not out there
on the main street.
On the street. Turning on and off lights, watering lawns, making a house look, protecting your investment.
Correct.
Helping you find a buyer or sell, and knowing what the values are. So we all have to work together in our industry as a team. And, the brokers play a very, very important role.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. And not just selling a house, maintaining a house, the estate, helping find an attorney that could get the house ready to be sold. And then you have landlord-tenant situations. So, we have to work together.